Hi, I'm new here. I created this account because something happened to my husband about a year ago, and I don't know what to make of it. My husband has always been a good man, and he's a wonderful father. He also has a great career and is very driven to succeed. But after the kids were born, his passion for me had waned. He was once very affectionate and flirty, and he couldn't keep his hands off me. We had date nights and would take weekend trips filled with kissing, hand-holding, and a lot of intimacy. But after the kids, all of that began to fade, and it continued to the point that I felt like we were roommates. I kept myself in shape for him and initiated intimacy often. He would never turn me down, but it was lazy. It was basically get off quick and go to sleep. So after a while, I just stopped initiating. This continued for years, and I had just grown used to it. I still loved him. I had no desire to cheat or divorce. I just figured this is what happens after kids, and I'll just deal with it. Then, about a year ago, he got a babysitter and asked me if I wanted to go away for the weekend, just the two of us. I was shocked but agreed, and the entire weekend he was affectionate and flirty and just fun. He hadn't acted this way in years. He was a completely different guy, and that included in the bedroom too. This may be TMI, but my husband hadn't performed oral intimacy on me in 10 years. And every time before he was kind of terrible at it. But while we were away, he just did it without asking, and he was amazing at it. This new attitude continued when we got home, and a few months after that, I started to notice that he had lost weight. Shortly after that, he started to look more toned as well. He had gotten a dad bod, but now he looked better than when we got married. I won't lie, I had difficulty keeping my hands off him. He's basically become the perfect husband overnight. I don't know what happened. He says he just wanted to be a better husband, but there was no event that triggered it outside of turning 40. Could that be it? I've read that middle-aged men sometimes get in shape because they are looking to cheat. But that's not the case. He's never cheated or had any desire to. We have lifestyle 360 for the kids, and I see where he is. It's work and home. I also see all his texts since we share an iPad. So I'm kind of stumped. Edit. Thank you all for the comments. I will answer a few common questions. 1. I see no testosterone in the house. Unless he's taking it at work and not telling me, then I don't think that's what it is. 2. How did he become so good at oral? He did tell me that before he didn't like it, but now he does. I could tell before he was grossed out by it, and that affected how I felt about it. So right there was a change, but that doesn't explain how the man has become downright intuitive with oral and intimacy in general. He has a sense of when to speed up, when to stay consistent, when I'm close, and how to get me there. I just don't know how that happened. That part didn't happen right away, but it didn't take long. 3. Like I said above, cheating really isn't possible. I always know where he is and have for years. I can track him and so can the kids. He goes to work and comes home. And when he leaves the house, it is to the store or his parents' house. And I can see that too. Also, wouldn't you get in shape before the affair, not after it was over? Because I have been hypervigilant and there's nothing. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I turned 40 this summer. I lost my mid-30s to the stress of the pandemic. Every day has been a grind. Social life gone, no work-life balance, no intimacy life. One day I looked in the mirror and my beard was graying. An old colleague mentioned that I was finally looking my age. Turning 40 triggered me to get a better job and start treating myself right. I stopped drinking so much, vaping so much pot, and started eating more vegetables. I made more effort to be a better partner. Maybe your guy got some testosterone. Or maybe he just realized how much time he lost to the day-to-day and is trying to be alive and engaged again. Gift horse, enjoy what you have and stop overthinking it. Comment 2. It sounds like you're living the good life, but the only question I have is, how did he suddenly get so good? Did he practice? Did he look up some tips? It's a little suspicious. When I suspected my ex was cheating, she suddenly started doing home workouts and trying new tricks in bed. But I also learned how to do new stuff via tips and things, and got pretty good at most things, so it could be that as well. Now, for the update, thank you for sticking with me here. So, things took a turn. Remember how I said my husband was acting all perfect? Well, it didn't last. 2 weeks ago, he started getting secretive with his phone. I mean, We share an iPad, but his phone was suddenly off limits. He'd take calls in the other room, which he never did before. It got me thinking, Then, one day, he left his phone on the counter while he showered. A message popped up, and I saw it. It was from someone named Gym Buddy, talking about meeting up later. My heart sank. I never knew any Gym Buddy. I thought back to all those times he'd been working out, getting fit. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Was this it? Was he seeing someone? I confronted him when he got out of the shower. He brushed it off, said it was just a friend from the gym, nothing to worry about. But the way he said it, there was this shiftiness in his eyes. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The next day, I followed him. I know, it sounds crazy, but I had to know. He drove to this little coffee shop, and there he was, laughing and chatting with some guy. They looked like old friends. I felt a mix of relief and confusion. So he wasn't cheating, but why lie about meeting a friend? I couldn't let it go. I asked him about it that night, and he got defensive, said I was invading his privacy. That's when it hit me. He was hiding something, but it wasn't an affair. It was something else. I did some digging. I remembered he'd been weird about his phone bills, so I checked them. There were charges for a private investigator. Why would he need a PI? I confronted him again, and after a long, tense argument, he finally broke down and told me. He'd hired the PI to track down his biological parents. He'd been adopted as a baby, something he never talked about, and it had always bothered him. He said he'd been feeling incomplete and thought finding his biological parents would help. He didn't want to tell me because he was afraid it would upset our family dynamic. I was floored. All this time I thought he was having an affair, and he was just trying to find a piece of himself. But why keep it a secret? Why not trust me? We tried to move past it, but things were strained. Then the PI found them, his biological parents. My husband was ecstatic, nervous, a mess of emotions. He met them, and it seemed like everything he ever wanted. But it wasn't. They were nothing like he'd imagined. They had a whole other family, and it was clear they didn't want to reopen old wounds. They were polite, but distant. My husband came home crushed. He'd built up this fantasy of a perfect reunion, and it just fell apart. It's been tough. He's withdrawn, barely talks. I feel like I've lost him to a family that doesn't even want him. And our family, the one we built together, is cracking under the weight of his heartbreak. I'm trying to be there for him, but it's hard. It's like he's a stranger now, lost in what could have been. I miss the man he was, the man he pretended to be, and I'm scared we'll never get back to where we were. Thank you for reading. My university friend pretends we're dating after a drunken night, but when I find out, she took advantage. I expose her lies and watch her lose all her friends. I'm trying not to make this too long, and hopefully it makes sense. To give you some background, I'm a university student, and I have a group of friends who I spent most of my time with. The girl I'm posting about is one of the people I'm less close with in the group, if that makes sense. I've known her about 1.5 years, but she's childhood friends with several of my friends. So they are probably closer to her than me. She also lives with 2 of my closest friends. I knew she was interested in me because she has tried to make a move a few times and has asked me out in the past, but I said no. I wasn't interested in her other than as a friend. I'm also avoiding getting involved with anyone due to some confusion I'm having, but I haven't discussed that with anyone whatsoever. So most people assume I'm just shy, which is also true. I recently went out with some of my friends and this girl was there. Not many people stayed out, and at the end it was just me and her at a bar. I don't remember how that happened, but I know in the past some friends have encouraged her to make a move because they think it would be good if we got together. So maybe it happened like that on purpose. I don't normally drink much, and I was extremely drunk. I barely remember the part of the night when it was just me and her, and I don't remember going home at all. When I woke up, she was there, and we were both naked. She said something about how she was happy we finally got together, and at the time I didn't know what to say because I didn't want to admit I didn't remember and regretted it because that would be hurtful. I was also extremely hungover and confused. She wanted to hang out more that day, but I convinced her to leave because I was so hungover. I have avoided seeing anyone since then. Ever since then, she's been talking like we're in a relationship, and I suppose in her view we are, even though it's not what I want at all. This all happened around a week ago, and she has been telling everyone we are together, and our friends are all happy about it. I have no idea what to say, which I know is weak, but I don't want this relationship, and I don't want to hurt her by saying it was a big mistake. I don't think there's anything I can do that won't end up with me being the bad guy and probably losing most or all of my friends. I've been trying to avoid everyone, but I can't do that forever. And she is pushing to spend time together, which I understand since she thinks I'm her boyfriend. I'm probably just going to be told I need to grow a pair, which is fair enough because it's true. But I really need advice. I'm a socially awkward person, and this is the first time I've had close friends. I don't know how to deal with this scenario. I had a dream last night that it didn't really happen, and I woke up feeling so relieved. Then I remembered it was real, and I feel so hopeless now. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Hi, dude. First of all, you need to check what really happened and to decide what to do from there. Are you sure she even had intimacy with you? If yes, did you find a condom somewhere? Saying, I am happy we finally got together could mean 1,000 different things. Maybe you only got naked together and kissed, and that's it. If not, you need to ask her if you used protection. And by protection, I mean a condom. If not, get tested then. You need to have a talk with her in a public place, such as a bar, and tell her you were too drunk to consent to any of this. She knew that you were not interested, and seemingly took advantage of you under the influence. She needs to know that what she did was not okay and is rap in a number of countries. She might cry or play the victim. If so, ask her how it would feel for her if X guy, pick a guy she'd find ugly AF, did this to her while she was drunk. Then leave. Comment 2. I have a son who is 19. If he came to me with this scenario, I'd tell him to set her straight. I'd also be really pissed and want to know how intoxicated she was, if protection was used, and why your friends left the two of you alone at the bar knowing how you feel about her advances. Tell her and everyone in your circle that you are not in a relationship. You don't want to be in a relationship, and if every single person in this group doesn't respect your boundaries, they're out of your life. Forget that noise. You need better friends. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since my last post. So, the girl I mentioned, let's call her C. She's been all over me since that night. It's like she's glued to me, and I can't shake her off. I've been dodging her calls and texts, but she's persistent. She even showed up at my place unannounced a couple of times, and I had to pretend I wasn't home. Then, things got even messier. One of my close friends, who's also C's roommate, found a photo. It was of me and C from that night, and it looked like we were having the time of our lives. I don't even remember it being taken. My friend showed it to me, laughing about how great it was that CC and I were finally a thing. I felt sick to my stomach. I had to do something, so I decided to talk to C. I told her we needed to clear the air. We met at a coffee shop, and I was straight with her. I said that night was a blur, and I wasn't in the right state of mind to consent to anything. She got quiet, then she dropped a bomb. She admitted she'd been sober that night. She knew I was wasted, and she'd hoped that if we slept together, I'd just go along with it because of the pressure from our friends. I was furious. I felt used and manipulated. But before I could even process it all, she started crying, saying she was sorry and that she just really liked me. I didn't know what to do. I left her there at the coffee shop. Word got out. Our friends were split. Some were angry at her for what she did. Others thought I was overreacting. It was a mess. But then, another friend came forward. He said C had tried something similar with him a while back, but he'd managed to stop her. People started to see a pattern, and the mood shifted. C was ostracized from our group. She moved out of the apartment she shared with my friends. I felt bad for her, but I also felt relieved that I wasn't the only one who'd been in that situation. Just when I thought things were settling down, another twist hit. One of my friends who'd been on C's side got into a fight with another friend who'd supported me. It was bad. Punches were thrown and they both ended up with bruises. It was like watching my social life implode. In the aftermath, we all had to take a hard look at ourselves. We'd been so caught up in the drama that we'd forgotten about the real issue, consent. We had a long, hard talk about it, and I think it opened a lot of eyes. I've been laying low since then, trying to focus on my studies and keep out of the drama. But it's hard. I see C around campus sometimes, and it's awkward. I can tell she's struggling, and part of me feels guilty. But I also know that what happened wasn't right. So, that's where I'm at. I'm trying to move on, but it's not easy. I've learned a lot about myself and my friends through all of this. I guess you never really know what's going on with people, even those you think are close to you. Thanks for reading. My husband's friend's girlfriend accuses him of cheating and spreads lies at his job. So I expose her affair and get her fired. I'm a 34-year-old female married to a 38-year-old male. We have 2 kids, ages 13 and 11. This is going to be a weird one. I'm sorry, but I need some advice. I met my husband when I was 18. He and I both like to run, and we met at a 5K fundraiser our town put on. They do it every year and have booths and different things for entertainment. The entire race, we were mostly racing each other, and it was a lot of fun. After that, we walked around together to see all of the booths. We got something to eat and spent a few hours talking. I don't think we've spent more than a few days apart since then. For the most part, we have a great relationship. I've never suspected him of anything. He has never done anything for me to suspect him of anything. He is pretty much an angel. He is the type of guy who doesn't ever lose his temper. He is sweet, kind, and loving. He is also a fantastic father. Anyway, he works at a paper mill. He's been there for several years. He has a friend there who is dating a lady we will call R, around 25 years old. R is a little too friendly toward my husband when they come over, but my husband brushes her off. He is very oblivious to advances. I got a text message from R. She sent me a picture of a weenie and claimed my husband was cheating with her. The problem is, my husband has a bit of a crooked weenie. I know his weenie when I see it. I've been using it for a very long time. She clearly doesn't know that, and it wasn't him. I mean, you can claim angles change the look or whatever to make someone think it's someone else's weenie, but the curve can't be covered easily. It wasn't even the right size or shade or anything. It was very obvious she's never seen my husband's weenie. Obviously, I texted my husband and sent him screenshots. I wanted him to know what was going on, and I didn't really know how to handle the situation. My husband told his friend, and his friend claimed a family emergency and left for the day. Well, apparently his friend's girlfriend claims I am making it up to break them up, and it's a whole thing. His friend was really being a jerk over the phone towards both me and my husband, and my husband got into it with him over that. My husband is on my side. He saw the screenshots and has seen the texts himself when he got home. He also knows I wouldn't make up something so weird. Anyway, his friend wants to come over and see the texts for himself. However, he was being a jerk, so I don't want anything else to do with this situation. Husband thinks I should just show him the texts, and then he can do whatever from there. My husband would be there, and the guy would behave toward me. Husband also said he could show the guy his weenie in a photo, if asked, to prove it's not him. I'm not sure, though. This whole thing is super weird, and I'm still mad about the way he spoke to me. TLDR, my husband's friend's girlfriend texted me, claiming to have slept with my husband, but the picture isn't him. I texted it to my husband, and he told his friend, but the friend got mad at me. He wants to see the texts now, but he was a jerk, and I don't want anything else to do with this situation. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Is there some reason you have to show this guy in person? Can't you send them to him? Or have your husband meet up with him? I don't think you are required to be around someone who is being hostile to you. He is also very likely pretty messed up being with someone who is that manipulative and malicious. He's obviously being lied to and strung along as much as you and your husband are. You two just have the security of trusting each other. Your husband's friend is on his own with a nut job. I would want him to see so he has a chance to sort it out and get out. Comment 2. I just last week had someone falsely accuse me of cheating with him. It is absolutely wild. But it happens apparently. It sounds like you need to take a step back from this situation. The guy should be fine with screenshots. Like, what does seeing it in person really accomplish? I just wonder what the motive is. but like I saw in my own life, and the crazy story in the comments of my post, people are just wild. Now for the update. Thanks for all the support on my last post. So, things have gotten even messier since then. Just when I thought the drama with R couldn't escalate, it did. My husband's friend, let's call him AM, showed up at our house unannounced. He was fuming, demanding to see the texts. My husband was at work, and I was alone with the kids. M was so angry, I was honestly scared. I told him he needed to leave or I'd call the police. He left, but not before yelling that we'd ruined his life. The next day, my husband came home from work with a look on his face that I'd never seen before. He sat me down and told me that R had been spreading rumors at the paper mill that I was the one having an affair. She claimed that I was trying to frame her to cover my tracks. It was ludicrous, but some people were believing her. I was furious. How could she twist the story like that? But then my husband dropped a shocker. He had been keeping a secret from me. He had a one-night stand with RR before we met. He never told me because it was a mistake that meant nothing to him. He didn't think it was relevant since it was before our time. But now, R was using their past to weave this lie about us. I felt like my world was crumbling. Not because of the one-night stand that was before he even knew me, but because he kept it a secret. Trust is everything to me, and this shook me to my core. I had to make a choice. Do I let this secret destroy the trust in our marriage, or do I forgive him for a mistake he made years ago? While I was wrestling with this, our 13-year-old overheard us arguing and got the wrong end of the stick. She thought her dad was cheating now, and it broke my heart to see her so upset. We had to sit down with both our kids and explain the situation, assuring them that we love each other and that their dad hadn't done anything wrong now. In the midst of all this, R's lies were spreading like wildfire. People at my husband's work were taking sides, and it was affecting his job. He was stressed, and I could see it was taking a toll on him. I decided to confront R. I went to her place and told her I knew the truth. I warned her to stop spreading lies or I'd take legal action. She laughed in my face, saying no one would believe me over her. But when I mentioned the one-night stand and how I knew it was before we met, her face dropped. She hadn't expected me to know about that. The following day, R was fired from her job. Turns out, she had been causing trouble for a while, and this was the last straw. M broke up with her, apologizing to us for not believing me sooner. My husband and I had a long talk. He apologized for keeping the secret, and I forgave him. We agreed that our marriage was more important than a mistake from the past. We decided to renew our vows as a way to start fresh and put all this behind us. It's been a tough week, but we're getting through it. Our kids are relieved that everything's out in the open, and my husband and I are closer than ever. We've learned that communication is key, and no secret is worth the pain it can cause. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day,